Okay, welcome everyone. We are very fortunate to be sitting here with Larry Hebert. He is a cash flow pro. He is very good at what he does. He works alongside myself with the Small Business Development Center here in our county. And together we work with a variety of different businesses, but overall, cash flow is essential to the success of your business. And within that, there's pricing. Pricing is something that not a lot of business owners know a whole lot about. They kind of go at it a variety of ways, and it can really kind of disturb the success of the business. So today we're going to be talking with Larry about pricing and the strategy behind it. Like, what are the best practices? So we're going to talk about, I think, 3 different areas today. So without further ado, I want to introduce Larry Hebert here.
Thank you, Bryce. Nice to be here. Thank you.
So when it comes to a small business owner and they're kind of looking at their inventory and putting a physical price tag on those different things, what is the best way for them to go about that? What is the thinking they should be having in the back of their head as they...
Pricing is probably the single most important thing a business will do, and for a number of reasons, because it is what will generate the cash. It's what will determine what your sales are going to be depending on where you price the products, and it will create the margin that you will use. And the margin is between what you paid for the product and what you sell it for. It's called the gross profit margin, and that's what fuels your business. So that's what you run your business on. It's not on the sales of your company, it's on the gross margin. So the number one thing you need to look at, there's a lot of things. One is you look at the competition. Who is out there selling your same product or service? Where are they competitive-wise in terms of your pricing? There's a term called price elasticity as an economic term. And related to businesses, price elasticity says that as you raise your price, your volume tends to go down if it's a product that other people are selling. So that means that your price will be elastic, and it creates a demand whether your product is going to be sold or not sold. If something's inelastic, it means no matter what you charge for it, people will buy it. And they use an example. That there was a cure for cancer, you'd pay anything for it, no matter what the price is, you'd pay for it.
Sure.
If you're going to buy a pair of shoes and someone has for $50 and you have it for $200, your sales are not going to occur. So when you look at pricing your product, you need to look at what the competition's doing. Many companies will have an assigned price called manufacturer suggested retail price already, and so you need to look at where that is to make sure that you're somewhere in line with that. The biggest thing about pricing is to be who's in your competition, who is it that is selling your product or service, and how many are there in your area, and what are the prices that they're charging as well, and where you fit into that.
How does a business's brand come into play? If you're a luxury brand or you are known for your customer experience, which maybe qualifies you to have a slightly higher price point, does that come into play?
Absolutely, branding is huge. So we all know companies that have a tremendous branding recognition, whether it's a restaurant or a resort, or just a product, a shoe, and you'll pay extra for that. Either it's because they're one of the few that have it, because of the service you get, because of the warranties that are involved in the product. People will pay more for that. So there's a fellow named Michael Porter who created a generic strategy, and you're going to be if you're a business, you're going to be in one or two areas. You either have a differentiated product that you can price with a premium added to it, or you're going to be a low-cost producer or a commodity product that is going to be cost impacted. And so you have to look at your company where you fall within that continuum. But having a brand that is recognizable, say as a Ferrari, I don't think Ferraris have to discount.
No.
And they can price whatever they want because they have the market. There's a friend of mine actually was on a plane one time, and he met a guy who was the vice president of sales for Ferrari. And he asked him, how many cars do you sell a year? And he says, 2,376. He said, how do you know that? He says, because we sell every one we make. We have a customer list, and he says, well, how do you figure your charge? He says, we just decide what we want to price it at, and people will pay it. So
nice place to be.
It's a nice place to be. So we're not all there. But having a premium brand certainly can allow you to charge more for it.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that your product is differentiated from whoever your competition is so that you can justify that increase And then you can generally, in a marketing perspective, if you have a differentiated product, then you're going to, and you're charging a premium for it, you're going to advertise more. It's a low-cost producer or a volume product. You tend not to have to advertise very much. It's a volume product.
Sure.
You don't have that much money to advertise on it because you're making a lower margin on it. Yeah, so brand is very important.
Excellent. Yeah, we're big proponents of knowing your target audience
Absolutely.
and developing a brand and brand format that actually attracts that target audience. So
And I
go
found,
hand in hand.
I found that people do not mind paying a premium for a product if they receive the service that's supposed to be associated with that premium. They don't mind it. All of us want quality products. And if there's an issue with the product, you want to be able to have it taken care of right away. And if you live up to those, people will pay. Will pay extra to have a product.
Yeah, we spoke with a good friend of mine who owns a luxury jeweler in Burlingame, and his battle is against Amazon and the online e-commerce. And he, in his words, kills the customer with kindness. The customer service that you receive when you call them is just amazing. It just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And so the customer experience and service that you receive can make a huge difference.
Huge difference.
So you can command that price.
There's an advertisement here on radio from the Shane Company,
Oh
the
yes.
jeweler, and their niche is they have the large jeweler. They have a couple of locations in Northern California. Is that their salespeople are not on commission. You don't have to come in. You're not going to be hounded. You come in. You look at everything. He goes over and buys the jewels personally. He doesn't have somebody go over to Thailand and get his emeralds or rubies. He goes over himself. So it's all
Handpicked. Yeah.
by the owner. And when you come in, it's about how can I help you? Not how can I sell you some jewelry. How can I help you find what you need? And everybody's on salary, no one's on commission, so there's no pressure from anybody. If you want to buy, it's okay. And he's obviously doing very well. It's been around for many years.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of philosophies and niches that you can have, but all of these impact your pricing. All these impact your pricing.
It's a good stop, good place to go with. What would be your number two kind of tip or kind of best practice when it comes to pricing?
One of the things that what I do with a lot of my clients is we do forecasting from before a period starts or year starts. We'll forecast for the year, both in cash flow and P&L. And I bring that up because, as I mentioned earlier, one of the most important things about your pricing is the gross margin that you're going to generate from your products. And you don't want to do it in a vacuum of I'm going to make 20% here and 4% here. It's all coupled together. There'll be times you'll make 60%. Sometimes you'll have to put things on sale at 10% over your cost.
Yeah, based on seasons and all
to get
those
it out.
variables.
Exactly. Yes, everybody has Christmas sales with it. But being able to price your products so that you generate a significant and sustainable gross profit margin so that you can run your business, pay your bills, and hopefully put money away. So it's being able to look at what your costs are going to be for the product, looking at what your expenses are going to be. And if you have the liberty to create your own pricing, as I said before, many items if you're in a retail store come, it's called MSRP from the manufacturer, but it's a manufacturer suggested retail price. They've already kind of given you an area of where you are probably going to price that product. But if you're going to be able to price your own, you need to look at all these different kinds of activities that go on in terms of the cost of the product, the expenses that you're going to be incurring. If there's any non-expense cash items that you have on a recurring basis, like a loan payment, or you're taking out draws from a company, if you're a partnership or a sole proprietor that's not part of your P&L, then you need to take these into account and find out what those are, and then you price your product accordingly. One of the mistakes people make when they price, if they just go from what their cost is let's say if somebody wanted to make a 50% profit, they'll take the cost and multiply it by 1.5. That's not how you do it. If you did that, you'll make a 33% profit. What you want to do is you want to divide the raw cost that it's costing you divided by what your cost of goods sales is going to be. and that will give you what you need to sell it for to make a 50% profit or 60% profit. You divide it by that. So I worked with a fencing contractor many years ago who said that he was making a 30% margin because he was multiplying by 1.33. And we figured out it was like 22%. He couldn't figure out why he didn't have any money.
No. Yeah.
So once I showed him how to do it, he all of a sudden started having money. So it's very important that you know how to price, because people can make mistakes, and particularly when you're selling a lot of products, if you did make a mistake, it just makes it bigger and bigger. And once you sell something, you can't get that money back. You can hopefully raise it on the next one, but you can't get. It's like a plane taking off and the seat's not.
Yeah.
You can't sell that seat again; it's already taken off. So once you sell something, so it's very important that you have the technique in order to price properly to ensure you have a margin that is going to sustain your business and sustain you as the owner of the business.
Makes a lot of sense. Is there any gray area or any variables that come into play when it comes to e-commerce and having all these different websites with potentially different prices on different things?
That's a really good point. Most companies will have what's called MAP pricing, minimum advertised pricing. And they mostly use them on the website. So if you have a price of your normal retail price is $100 and MAP pricing may be $85, and so you have to decide if are you going to compete with that or not, or somewhere in between. So having e-commerce has really changed the landscape of business.
Yeah, it sure has.
And retail in particular, because now people can just order from their offices or their bedrooms with their computers, or it's shipped right to you. So you need to be competitive, and many of the people I'm working with also have websites where you can buy. So that brick and mortar store, then they'll have a website that you can buy something off of. But they have to make the prices the same. You don't want to if you have a brick and mortar store, now you go into online and you start discounting online to match somebody else that's doing it, then people are probably not going to go to your store. They're probably just going to buy online from you or somebody else.
Yeah.
So it's a real tricky situation. Pricing is a huge part of that. And what I've told people is as you mentioned before about the service and the convenience and that, if you take care of people and you have a product, I would much rather buy from somebody I can go back to. I'll pay more for that to make sure that if I have an issue, I can take care of it. Or if it's in my town, I want to buy locally anyway. I don't want to buy on a website that someone back east or Amazon's getting if I can help it. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, precisely.
I want to buy local and support the local businesses here in Santa Cruz. But that has really impacted pricing, and a lot of times what people don't know is when those large e-commerce sites, they'll have agreements with manufacturers that they're buying volume, so they're getting lower pricing anyway. So their margins may indeed be the same, but they're selling it for lower. So to try to compete with that really is just it's almost like digging your own hole that you can't get out of. So
yeah.
I tell people don't try to be Goliath. Just run your business. One of the best advice I got when I had stores years ago. This guy said, "Don't worry about someone else. So you just take care of your business and you treat your customers right. You're going to be fine." He was exactly right. I didn't have to go. It goes
a very long way.
Absolutely, I didn't have to do that. If people buy from you, they will come back if you treat them right and you have a relationship.
Very true.
Yeah.
Now, let's get to our last point, last tip, last best practice. When it comes to pricing, what should people be thinking about, maybe from a seasonal standpoint?
From a seasonal standpoint, with one thing, when I work with my clients, particularly in the retail business, there are seasons that you're involved with. It's spring, summer, fall, winter, and one of the mistakes I've seen people make is that they wait too long, or they don't get rid of the product that is passing from one season to the next. So as an example, if you're in your spring and summer season and fall and winter's coming up and you have bathing suits or t-shirts or something of that nature that's not going to sell in the fall and winter, you don't want to put it back in a stock room. You want to sell it and you want to get rid of it to generate the cash so that you can buy and pay for winter and summer goods that you'll be able to get your margin on. I've even told some of my clients that just get your money out of it. Don't try to give a 10% discount and just make a commitment to get out of there. Have a big sale. If you look at Nordstrom, they have twice a year sales.
Sure.
And they
Well known
out,
for those.
they clear it out because you don't want to have, you don't want to have your inventory continue to build and build and build because there's a thing called open to buy that you on how to plan. You establish a base inventory based on your sales, and then each month, whatever you sell, you replace, you maintain that base inventory. When you start going above that base inventory, then your cash gets tied up in product that doesn't move, and you have money sitting there, and either you're out of cash. If you're out of cash, you need to borrow cash, or you get in trouble with your vendors, and then they're charging you interest because you're not paying your bills on time.
Sure.
And so you need to really establish, and you're better off doing it sooner than later. So I have my people, the people I'm working with, if they're transitioning from fall to winter, from fall and winter to summer and spring, I don't have them put their sales on in February. I tell them right after Christmas and through January, get their stuff out because companies are selling and sending their spring material and spring goods in February, March. So people want to try to get as much as they can on a sale, and sometimes it can be a mistake. The goal is to at least get your money out of it.
Sure.
If you can make anything above that, that's great. Because if you have to keep it another season,
well, it's outdated.
It's outdated. You come back now, you're going to discount it by 50% off your cost, and pretty soon people start donating stuff. And so all this money you think you're saving by not selling it at a cost or a little above cost to get rid of it, you're actually losing on the back end when things don't sell. Because not everything's going to sell. No matter how much you put it on, it's going to sell. But you try to get as much sold as you can, so that you can accumulate your cash, be able to buy new merchandise that you can get your full margin on. But that's a mistake I see a lot of retail stores doing, in particular, for the seasonal pricing.
Yeah.
Great question.
Especially if you're living in a tourism
Absolutely.
attraction
Yeah.
type location.
And there's always in the store with there's always the pricing. The reason you want to have competitive pricing is to move inventory because you want to bring new things in. If someone walks in your store and there's the same thing there every time they walk in, eventually they'll stop coming. And a lot of times, as we talked earlier, that selling or not selling something is based on price. And so again, it's competitive pricing. It's knowing your market. It's knowing your customers. It's knowing your competitors, where they are. You don't have to be the lowest price. We're not saying to be the lowest price. It's okay to be the highest price. You just need to be within reason of what are you going to offer for that higher price.
Yeah. That makes a big difference. Big proponent here of telling folks get to know your customers inside and out.
Absolutely.
Actually, if you can take your most loyal customers out to lunch or out to coffee and just pick their brain and just listen to what they have to say, why they chose you and why their friends would choose you and how to reach them.
One time I worked for Reebok as a national sales manager, and I used to work with reps on the road all the time. And so I would go back to corporate for meetings, and they didn't go out on the road, so they weren't engaged with customers. So they're trying to make decisions on stuff, which I knew didn't make any sense. So I asked them, where do you think is the best place to get answers about our product and about how we're doing? And they were talking about someone in marketing or someone over here, and I go, it's the customers. They will tell you exactly what you need to know. And I said, you guys are making decisions in a vacuum, and you can't. You have to have that input. So any input you have from customers, it's a great idea. Take your best customers to lunch. Ask them, what can I do to be better? What am I doing good? What am I doing bad?
Exactly.
How can I improve? How do you view me? How does the community view me? And when I owned my stores, I had some really close customers who got to be really close friends, and they tell me.
That information
I'd ask them, and they tell me.
Valuable.
Yeah, that's my dad. See, the friends that like, the people like you most are the ones that will tell you the truth. And that's what you want. Yeah. So, the more, it's a great point. The more you can get involved with your customers, the more you know. As a business owner, you're expected to be the accountant, the salesperson, the HR department, the marketing department, the financier, and you can't do them all.
No, you can't.
But you've got to do as much as you can. But the more you know, but you have to know all those things. Even if you hire someone to do them, you still have to understand those. So the more you can learn, the more you know, the more you talk to people, that just makes you a better business person to make better decisions, to make better pricing decisions, to make better marketing decisions.
Goes a very long way.
It goes a long way. It can be the difference between success or failure. And then lastly, I think that all this pricing and the sales and what it generates really comes down to cash. As we kind of said earlier, that cash is what fuels your business. When you run out of cash, you're done. You may try to get it from a bank or put some more money in, but you need to be funded by operations. And so this all is a part of the pricing structure, the margin structure, the seasonal pricing structure to continually generate cash so you're a viable business and it can be sustainable over a long period of time.
Words of wisdom. Well, Larry, thank you so much. This information you've shared is just invaluable to our listeners.
My pleasure.
And appreciate it. So thank
you.
you.
Okay.